Our guest today is Mr. Kevin Boone. He is the Renewable Energy Coordinator for the United States Department of Agriculture, and he's here today to share with us information about renewable energy.
Sure.
And see if we can make things happen.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, pretty good. I appreciate you inviting us and letting us spread the word of rural development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, look, tell us what you do.
Sure. My name's Kevin Boone, and I work for USDA Rural Development. It's an agency that creates economic development in rural areas of the state and also the nation. Specifically, what I do is I work in a division that handles business loans, business grants as well. So I'd like to mention one particular program now that it's a loan guarantee program, very similar to what Small Business Administration does,
Okay.
but it's primarily geared for larger projects. And with that said, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a large project. It could be a smaller project as well because we have no minimum. But if you're located in a rural area and you'd like to expand your business or even a startup business, or maybe you're looking for inventory needs for your business, we have what's called a loan guarantee. You would actually go to a lender of your choice.
Okay.
Once you provide that lender your business plan and what have you, if the lender feels the necessity for a government guarantee, they would then give us a call. We would analyze the bank's loan analysis. If it looks like it meets the parameters of what we have to deal with, we then offer that lender, the bank, a guarantee.
Okay.
And it's a guarantee if any loss may incur on that loan. So what that does for a customer or a small business owner, it helps mitigate any potential risk because of a startup or maybe a lack of strong equity in that business or what have you. And then it could give that small business owner or the lender, it gives the lender more security to offer the small business owner a better interest rate and a better term on a loan.
Okay.
Therefore, helping that business's bottom line.
Okay. When you say small business, what are you referring to as being small business?
Sure.
Mom and pop operation?
Sure.
Or an employer that has maybe 10?
Right.
Maybe grosses maybe just $500,000 a year?
Right. We have no actual limits on what defines a business. And when I do mention small business, it can vary from one employee all the way up to 1,000, 2,000 employees. So there's really no limits there. What does limit the program is the size of the loan.
Okay.
And the maximum loan size is $25 million. Okay. So we could consider a loan guarantee to a bank loan for a maximum of $25 million. And so that leaves it wide open. We could consider small businesses for like grocery stores or video stores all the way up to large manufacturing facilities.
Okay, so basically in the rural areas, if you want to move into another area?
It's all rural areas that we can consider, hence the name, the agency, Rural Development.
Okay.
When we look at urban settings, we typically call SBA to see if they could possibly assist that business owner in an urban setting. But it's basically any business located outside of a population that doesn't have 50,000 people. So what that means is that 50,000. So it excludes the city limits of Lafayette and some of the surrounding areas because it's tied to Lafayette. But that also opens the door for the surrounding areas like St. Martin Parish, St. Landry, Acadia, and so on. And even parts of Lafayette Parish are still eligible because those communities like Scott and Broussard and what have you are not over 50,000 in population.
Okay. And the same thing applies to Karen Crow?
Karen Crow as well. Karen Crow would be eligible. There are some places in Karen Crow that are excluded because of the population or the density of the population in certain subdivisions and what have you are tied to the Lafayette economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know about a business owner. He's a small business owner. He wished to expand.
Right.
And he was asking me about finding some property. I said, well, he is in the restaurant business. He's pretty successful.
Right.
And you're looking at looking at the old Ryan's building on Ambassador Caffrey.
Sure.
And after thinking about it with my director and everything,
Mm-hmm.
no, don't move there. You out here in the character area, you are popular. You created an image. You created a brand name. You
Sure.
know. Don't go over there in that area because now you're competing with the Texas Roadhouse,
Right.
Corral, and Buffet City, and you name it.
That's right.
You got to do some heavy advertising to compete with these guys.
There's no doubt.
Okay, so I was trying to get him. He said, "Well, okay, I can understand that." Well, he's not looking for something else, and I may have found something for him. And when I brought it back up to him, I think I kind of scared him a little bit.
Well, it is one of the functions that we do as well at USDA. We'll get those conversations, those phone calls, or even meet with a business owner. Just brainstorming, as you're mentioning. And, the thing to do in a situation like that is let's start looking at a business plan and feasibility study to see truly if your market's there. Now, is that something that we do inside of USDA? It's actually not, but we have partners that we deal with on a daily basis that we may sit down with that partner, with that small business owner, look at a feasibility study to see where the market truly is. To see how's the brand recognition and what have you. And then once it develops out of a business plan and study, it goes to the bank. If the bank's interested, the bank will contact us for this, what we call that loan guarantee.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty good.
it's a lot of what we do. Yeah,
I can understand that.
sure.
I might bring it back up to him. I might not scare him so bad.
That's right. That's
But,
right.
I'll tell you what, though, is there something else that we can
Sure.
let the community know exactly what else that you do besides just?
Right. I mentioned we deal with a lot of business loans and what have you in rural communities, but we also have what's called a renewable energy and energy efficiency grant and loan program. If you are a small business owner, now there is a definition for that. If you meet SBA's small business definition, which varies between industries, so we have to go to their book to find out. It's usually based upon gross income or number of employees. But if you're a small business owner in a rural area and you would want to put in a process, replace a process that you have in your business. Let's give you an example like an air conditioning unit on a small restaurant, and you want to replace it with a more efficient air conditioning unit. There's a program that can fund up to 25% in the form of grant dollars to help your small business put in these new energy efficiency improvements. It can also fund 25% in grant dollars to create an energy like solar panels. So that's something else to consider. I think of the grocery industry, the hotel industry. They use a lot of power. Lighting, insulation, windows. In restaurants and grocery industry, the cooling, refrigeration, all of that is especially in our rural grocery stores, they're all about 30 years old plus.
Yeah.
So, this program can help retrofit all of their refrigeration and pay get 25% in the form of grant dollars to do that.
When it comes to the renewable energy, of course, you're looking at solar right now is kind of popular.
Right.
Okay, but I haven't seen too many with businesses because I'm not involved with that.
Right.
But I do see solar panel on residential homes. And you're looking at, I don't understand why they could do that. In other words, like 80% is tax credits.
That's right.
That you can take. Well, I don't know how much these solar panel units cost, but the federal government subsidizes.
It is on housing. In Louisiana, it could get up to 80%, and there's a reason for that. For a housing project, and what I mean by that is solar panels putting on residential purposes. The state can offer, and this is the state of Louisiana, they have a rebate program that will offer a 50% reimbursement grant at the end of the year up to $12,500. And then the federal government through IRS will offer an additional credit of 30%. Now that's a tax credit. So between the tax credit and the state rebate, you could get up to 80% in the form of tax credits and rebates for residential purposes. Now, businesses don't have the same luxury or incentive by the state and also the federal government. This program is a competitive grant, meaning that we receive dollars within the state and we simply fund projects until we run out of funds. It's not a guarantee, but still, there's one thing I can guarantee is if you don't apply, there's no access,
Right.
access to dollars.
Well, I tell you, I hate to stop.
Sure.
This will kind of end our first
Sure.
segment here, but we'll get right back and see what we can do with the second segment.
Okay.
Okay, we are back, and we'll see what else Mr. Boone has to say about the energy efficiency.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you again.
Okay. We were talking during the break there about other types of energy and other things that involve farmers and so forth. So maybe you can expound upon
Sure.
those things.
Sure. Well, we were mentioning, the popularity of solar panels for residential purposes in Louisiana, and Louisiana has some of the best incentives via the state programs and also the federal government. Now, when it comes to business, the incentives for businesses are somewhat limited. They still have access to a federal tax credit of 30%. But as far as a state rebate, it's not available for businesses. So with this particular program that we have here at USDA, we can still offer a grant up to 25% for businesses, as long as they're located in a rural area.
Does veterans get any benefits?
Right. Veterans, there's no additional
Like no
benefits
preference?
or preferences. There's not. We do have some programs that do have some veteran preferences through the new farm bill that was recently signed, and I can discuss that as well. If you are a veteran farmer, and that's an agricultural producer where you're producing at least 51% of your income from farm, there is a veteran's preference.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, there's a score sheet when we look at this grant, and depending on what's being done and what have you, you get a score. And if you prove that you are a veteran and you are a farmer, there's an additional points that are added to that score sheet, which will help you in competing with other applicants when funding comes about. Because, there's times where we have more applications than we have funding. So that veteran's preference definitely helps. So what I mean by that is if you're a farmer and you are a veteran, and let's say you're producing soybeans, and you would like to maybe get into the soybean oil business, maybe crushing soybeans or what have you, that's called a value-added product. You've added value to that raw soybean. There's a grant by use of veterans preference. You could apply for marketing purposes. So you could use it to help you market this new oil on the product. Same with strawberries or any other raw agricultural commodity. One example that we use around here in Acadiana and who are truly using this program is crawfish producers. Going from live crawfish, selling it live as a raw commodity, to maybe peeling the crawfish. And we can help with these grant dollars to help these farmers market their new product, which is the peeled crawfish meat. So that means labeling, maybe going to trade shows, doing commercials, television programs, or what have you. So yeah, that's that available as well.
Where it would be an advantage.
Sure.
By getting involved with you guys.
Yeah.
I do know that being associated with the Veteran Business Outreach Center and the Business Development Center out of Jennings, I know because there are things I'm sure we're going to want to partner with you and try to make things happen there too, because it's like everything else. You got to have all types of resources.
Right.
You just can't rely on one.
And we do mention this when we sit down with an applicant. Many times we will say, look, the project looks great. It's something that we can participate in, but we may not be able to be the catch-all for everything. So that's why it's good to have partnership base, such as what you're mentioning, to maybe bring in other parties to the table to complete a project
Right,
or some
right.
type of business opportunity.
Because I do know that we are involved uh, with entities that
Mm-hmm.
want to develop in rural areas
Right,
around the state.
right.
And you cover the state?
We cover the entire state out of this office. So if someone needs me in Monroe, Louisiana, I'm there tomorrow, and then we'll have a meeting face to face.
Okay.
So yeah.
I like the idea because um, has wind energy, the turbines, the big turbine, have they kind of caught on here in Louisiana? I know up in Oklahoma, or you may have seen it
Right.
in Colorado, some areas
In Texas and
Texas
so on.
stuff like that. Has that kind of caught on, or is that still? I know
It
Boone
ha-
Pickens was involved with that
Sure.
for a good bit.
And you know, in certain areas of the country, it makes a lot of sense. In Louisiana, we have not found enough wind resource to justify the dollar. You know, you would think, you know, someone laughed a while back. We were in Baton Rouge, and they said, you know, there's enough hot air around here where we could make a wind turbine go. But anyway, no, there's wind resource maps that are done by Department of Energy, and when you look at Louisiana as a whole, there's not enough wind resource to justify the size of these wind turbines that are being installed. So let's say in Texas and other places of the country. Now there was some discussion about turbines, wind turbines out in the Gulf area
Okay.
on abandoned oil rigs and what have you. That hasn't materialized here in Louisiana yet, and it may in the near future. But as far as turbines, wind turbines for renewable energy at this point, there's none at any large scale that's being used.
Now, years ago,
Mm-hmm.
with Jacques Cousteau,
Right,
he did a study with turbines submerged,
right,
where the current is constantly
yeah,
moving, and it's at that time they said that it could produce a pretty good bit of energy
right.
to run a small town or whatever you put it out there.
Yeah.
So there are renewable programs, but I think right now the infrastructure is really not.
Well, you know,
set up for
and
that
that's
stuff.
true. I mean, you know, with the technology, a lot of technology can be proven, but then when you put the economics to it, you know, does it truly?
out of reach, yeah.
Right, right. And what you're mentioning there, this program that we have with renewable energy can help fund hydroelectric power.
Oh, really?
Yes, it sure could.
Okay.
And I mean, we have a lot of water resource in this state, so it could happen. But you know, you again, when you look at the technology and putting the infrastructure in, sometimes it's hard to justify, and it's just a matter of maybe technology catching up to where we can bring economies of scale down to where it's economical.
Okay. Say, for instance, like for residential, that out in the urban area,
Right.
can you produce? I'm sure you can produce a station of some sort that could say generate enough energy to supply a specific number of homes.
You could. Now,
And
what
I'm saying that way they would pay for it and be self-sufficient, I guess.
theoretically, it's possible. What has to happen is you have other players involved. You have the Public Service Commission that would have to get involved, and then you also have the electrical provider in that area that has to be a player as well to purchase the power. So, you know, in this state here, we have a rice mill that is using rice hulls. So the byproduct of the milling industry, burning the rice hulls and creating electric power and putting that back on the grid for energy.
Okay.
So there are facilities here in the state that are providing green energy on our grid system.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, all we hear nowadays is nothing but energy efficient this, energy efficient that. But like you said, to come down to the economical side,
That's right.
it's kind of out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
Because I myself would like to use a little solar power where I'm at,
Right.
mainly to see if I can maintain my water pump,
Right.
have a well,
Right.
and an air conditioner.
Yeah.
If they can just take care of those two,
Yeah. And it very well could.
it would reduce my cost for energy
Yes.
considerably.
Right.
Because it doesn't take much to. I got a bill last month for $300 and almost $400, and if I could have cut that in half because of solar energy or some type of efficient energy, I would be happy.
Well, that's the first thing a solar vendor will do is he will walk into your house and look at everything that you're using as far as electricity. And you'd be surprised how much phantom electricity that is being used that you don't even know about, from just chargers for cell phones that are not plugged in. Pretty much anything that's got a little heat to it, it's taking some electricity, and it's robbing from you there.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll go into a house and conduct an energy audit, and then after that, determine the solar system that is needed for your house to reduce the amount of around electrical consumption that you have. And in Louisiana, we're one of the few states that will allow you to, if during the day, if you're not using all of your solar power, you're allowed to put it back onto the grid at retail rates. So you get a credit back. Sure do.
Because I'm looking at ways of cutting costs, but I'm out in the country, and the way my house is set up, I don't know how in the world I'm going to put the solar panel to catch the sun.
Yeah, that is something
problem,
that is something to consider.
But I tell you what, this is the end of the second segment, and this is going to end the show. But I'm sure we will be back for more in the future.
Sure.
And see what we can do. So thank you for coming, my friend.
Thank you for the invite.
Okay. And catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.